Hey guys, Pump Pete back in today, and I have some huge news to announce today from the Intellivision Homebrew world. The second biggest announcement of the week, let's call it. But in a major move, Intellivision Homebrew Publisher Intellivision Collector has acquired publisher Blah Blah Woof Woof, purchasing the rights to their complete library of games, including both physical and digital versions. This means that Intellivision Collector will now be able to reproduce and redistribute any past or any future Blah Blah Woof Woof titles. Intellivision Collector will now be the sole distributor of these past titles, many of which had already been available actually on the Intellivision Collector store, www.intellivisioncollector.com. However, in the past, these purchases were fulfilled directly by Blah Blah Woof Woof, and they are completely independent of other purchases on the Intellivision Collector store. This is now changing, and all Blah Blah Woof Woof titles will also be assembled and sold from here in Canada, meaning you can now combine shipping on all Blah Blah Woof Woof titles with other purchases that you make from Intellivision Collector, and this means a significant savings in shipping. So let's talk about the past titles, as well as one exception that will now be distributed by the Intellivision Collector. First off, we have item number BBWW002, and that is Parsec, a horizontal space shooter ported from the TI-99 4A. It was originally released at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo in 2022. Now, you may remember that a bug was actually found in Parsec a few months after its initial release, but naturally this has been patched, so all versions available from Intellivision Collector in the future will be this patched version. Next up, we have BBWW006, which is Fox's Quest. Now, this one was also released at PRGE back in 2022, and it's basically a 16-level box-pushing puzzle game that's guaranteed to strain your brain. Next up, we have BBWW005, Lode Runner, which is a true 2D puzzle platformer classic, ported over from back in the early days of home computers. It was on such things as the VIC-20, the C64, Apple II, Atari 400, etc., etc. And now it's finally on the Intellivision, and it is actually the very first Intellivision homebrew released in 2024. Now, there is one game that Blah Blah Woof Woof had back in the past, and that's BBWW001, and it's a game called Piggy Bank. Piggy Bank was released without packaging, just cartridge only, back in 2015, but Blah Blah Woof Woof did not have the sole rights to this game and can't include it in the deal with Intellivision Collector. Hopefully we'll hear more about this in the future, and maybe it'll all become available again for those of us who weren't around back in 2015 and didn't have an opportunity to pick up this game. Now, you may have noticed at the beginning of this video that I said Intellivision Collector will now be able to reproduce and redistribute it past and future Blah Blah Woof Woof titles. Well, I'm very happy to announce here for the very first time that along with the back library, two titles that were currently in development were also acquired by Intellivision Collector. These two titles are in their final beta testing stage and will soon be released in both physical and digital formats. Now, I'd like to point out that the numbering system for Blah Blah Woof Woof titles is sort of all over the map. They weren't numbered sequentially, which is very, very strange, but bear with me. First, for a new title, we have BBWW003, and that is Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. I mean, this was originally a Sega arcade game from back in 1982, and the space rail shooter was ported to most of the home consoles back in the day, as well as all the different home computer systems back then. And now, finally, in 2024, it's coming to the Intellivision. The second new game being released is BBWW004, Space Bandits. This is a unique 3D space shooter maze game originally created by Milton Bradley for the TI-99 4A computer, and also taking advantage of their MBX expansion system that they released for the computer back in the day. As I said, Space Bandits is a very unique game, but it does remind me a bit of Wizard of War, and it even has a bit of an air of something like Discs of Tron. Take note, these are the last two Blah Blah Woof Woof titles that will ever be released. Along with the physical components for the two new releases, Intellivision Collector has now acquired all unused building materials and source files for the back catalog, and they'll be making more physical copies of these games on demand. One very important thing to remember for all the homebrew collectors out there is that these will be Blah Blah Woof Woof titles. Blah Blah Woof Woof releases, even though they're being done by Intellivision Collector. All future printings will be only with a Blah Blah Woof Woof logo, and for past titles, no variants will intentionally be created. Now, although Blah Blah Woof Woof would no longer be publishing games, Intellivision Collector would like to make sure that everybody knows that the founders of BBWW will still be active members in the Intellivision Homebrew community. So here's the big question. When will you be able to get copies of your games? The Intellivision Collector store, again, www.intellivisioncollector.com, will have physical copies of the back catalog and both physical and digital copies of Space Bandits and Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom sometime between late June and mid-July. Digital copies of the back catalog will be available much sooner, sometime in early June. Take note, over the next week, I'm going to be making some videos on all of these games, some Old Guys and Old Games episodes, as well as some pure gameplay episodes, so be sure to check those to learn more about the games and see a little bit more of what we have coming down the pipe. Well, guys, that's it for the big announcement for today. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with Coco and I here today. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. I can't wait to get these new games. Big news, Blah Blah Woof Woof, now part of Intellivision Collector. Absolutely awesome in my mind. Anyway, guys, until the next video, you take care.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age.
Hi, I'm Luke from Intellivision Collector. You're watching Papa Pete, the old guy gamer.
What the hell?